how is that possible to get the high ticket even you are just getting started? So is there any
Well,
myths that people are following?
yes, and this is a big one because I've got some higher ticket stuff. But the thing is, people.
Hey folks, you are most welcome to the Rising King Show, and here we have an amazing coach who's gonna explain you to develop your amazing business. Here we have Tommy Johnson, the founder of Hold Your Hand, Kick Your Ass Business Coach. So Tommy Johnson, you are most welcome over here in so.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here chatting with you and your audience.
Right. So my audience really would like to know a little introduction about you.
So I've been working with small businesses for over 20 years, and I specialize in working with what I call baby businesses. So ones that are brand new, idea stage up to 2 years in business. And I teach them the basic foundational skills that they need to first survive and then thrive. Because unfortunately, the failure rate for new businesses within the first 2 years is astronomical. And it rarely has to do with the fact that there's a problem with their product or their service or the owner isn't working hard enough. It's that they do not have the foundational business skills that they need to make their business go. So I work with them to get all of those pieces put together. I love them. I hold their hands and I hold them accountable and I kick their ass to get it done.
Perfect. That is why you mentioned that kick your ass business coach, right? This is something
my clients named me that, actually.
So, all right. Thank you so much for sharing this. That your clients are super supportive. They are like your raving fan. So this is
Yes.
something interesting. Let me share. Let me ask. You that how did you start your this business journey? I know you are a veteran. You have been doing it for the past 20 years, but my audience would really like to know about it.
Well, it was kind of an evolution. So my background is in financial services. So I've been in financial services for 29 years. So helping people with their budgeting, making sure their debts are set up properly and saving them money, investments, insurance, things like that. And I started my business 20 years ago in financial services. So I went into sales full time, but I always specialized in working with the self-employed small business owners. And when I was helping them get their personal stuff all together, I would get into the business stuff and I'm going, they're having issues here and we can help them with that because I have a greedy, motivated self-interest to see my clients succeed because broke people have no money for investments or insurance. And I've always loved business. I've been studying business since I was a small child. And so I started helping them with their business. And I developed a small business course that I would put people through because it would save everybody so much time. And it evolved. And then in 2019, I split my business into two. So I still have my personal financial planning business that I run, but then I created KSA business on the side to completely look after all of the business coaching, consulting, and teaching, because with the personal finance stuff, I'm geographically tied to Alberta and BC, the provinces and where I'm licensed to work in Canada, where with KSA business is business is business. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if it's product or service or what the industry is. The foundational pieces are all the same. And as long as you speak English, because I am learning Spanish, but it's quite the challenge at my age to be learning a new language, I can help you. When you're working on like specific legal aspects and requirements for accounting and stuff, you always need to be working with your local qualified, competent experts. But the basics of business are universal.
All right, all right. So this is something interesting that you mentioned over here. So, let me begin with the questions over here that we have. And before we begin with the questions, I really would like to say that let's have a session on the financial planning as well. But for that part, leave it right now over here, right? And let's go ahead with this question that we have over here. So you mentioned that you are helping to those small businesses owners who are even just getting started, who have the idea as well to get started into the business so that they can get started. So what do you think? What is the first step to get started?
Well, kind of everybody, there's all sorts of different first steps that people can be taking, and it kind of depends on what their strengths are. One of the first things I always work with people is figuring out, like, is your business viable? Almost all of the businesses that come to me, if they're done properly, are totally and completely viable. But I've come across a few where, like, I'm just going, I'm sorry, I do not see how you can make this work in this environment. So do you have a viable business? How are you going to be marketing it? Because no sales, no business. And that is a huge thing. And then once you've got the sales, how are you going to be delivering? Because one of the things that I've discovered from 20 years of doing this is there's two main types of people that start businesses. The ones that make up 60 to 70%, marketing is not their issue. They love talking to people and networking and doing the sales and all of that stuff. They're usually extroverted, they're idea people. They get going on things very quickly. Their problem is not making the sale. It's okay, now you have to actually go back to the office or the shop or whatever, and you have to get it done. You have to, they don't have any idea of on systems. They typically have problems with getting things finished and delivered. Those are their issues. So those are what we have to be working on over there. And then there's the other people that are more introverted typically. They're more on the systems. You give us a job, we will knock your socks off. It is going to be amazing. But the problem they have is, oh my God, you want me to go out and talk to a real live human being and let them know what my business can do to help them? That's going to cause them a coronary. So we have to work on that. Other ones, how is this financially going to work? Because that is the number one area where most people avoid. As long as the phone isn't ringing with creditors demanding money, or there isn't lots and lots of money hitting the account because business is booming, so they want to see those numbers, most people completely avoid their financials, other than the bare minimum of what do I have to do for legal purposes and to pay my taxes so the tax person isn't going to be coming and shutting me down. Where when you actually get familiar with and friendly with the numbers of your business, they can tell you so many stories that you can then use that information to go forth and help more people more efficiently, more effectively.
All right, all right. So this is something interesting over here. Like the one can get started the way that you share, right? So you mentioned that people fail in the marketing. So what is the funda like one can follow? Let's say if one is getting started, they think of establishing the website and then marketing their product, whatever the product that they have, whatever the program that they have. So is that any mistake that you mentioned that one commits in their initial journey?
Well, one of the biggest things that people make the mistake on, well, there's two. Number one, thinking that all they have to do is put out a sign and that's the only marketing that they need to do, especially if they've got like a brick and mortar shop. And I've seen this, they're going, I have beautiful signage, and they just expect that to bring all the people in. Doesn't freaking work that way. Other one, just pouring money at it for doing advertising that is just, I call it shotgun marketing. They're just spraying out into the ether and hoping that it brings people into them, where there's 29 different ways to be marketing your business. You need to be finding the ways that work for you. And a lot of people think, well, I don't want to do sales because I have to go out and do cold calls. Well, I hate cold calls. I only have met like 2 people in my entire life that like doing cold calls. But there's tons of other ways of doing it. Doesn't matter if you're an extrovert or an introvert. So I'll give you a perfect example. So I told you my background is financial services. I do things like sell insurance. I sell life insurance. No one wants to talk to a life insurance salesman. We're like the pariahs on the planet. They avoid us like the plague. And I'm going, when I first started my business, the normal course of going through and doing things is you start hitting on all your friends and family. You try to sell them. You try to sell. I absolutely did not want to do that in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going, I have to find a better way of doing this. Also, I'm a massive introvert. The idea of small talk gives me hives. Like, and traditional networking and things, I don't like doing that. So I had to come up with different ways of marketing myself. So one of the things that I did is, first off, I created my financial journeys course. So my personal financial course. So that in and of itself set me apart, because most financial advisors, they just want to go in and sell you retirement plans and life insurance and stuff like that. They don't actually put any time or effort into boring things like budgeting and, like you said, going over your credit to make sure that you're not paying for things that you shouldn't be, or paying too much and stuff like that. So that set me apart. And what I did is I started going to small community trade shows. So Community Hall was having a fall trade show. So they're having all sorts of different small businesses from all over the place have booths. So I would buy a booth for like $50, $75 max, and I'd set up my table and I would meet people that way. And within about a year and a half, I could go into any trade show. And it wasn't so much that I was picking up a lot of the people that were coming into the trade show as clients, but I started turning a lot of the other vendors, the small business owners. Then I've done media appearances for years. I do teaching. I've set myself up as an expert. I don't do cold calling. All of my business comes in via referral, which means they phone or email me and ask me for an appointment. I won't call anybody.
All right. So it was all possible because of the networking, right?
Well, the networking and finding what works for you and being consistent about it. So I was targeting in a very specific geographic area. So if there was anything going on in this group of communities, a trade show, they're having a Christmas extravaganza, there's any marketing thing whatsoever going on, I would make sure that I was there, because people want to know that, number one, you're serious about the business, and number two, that you're in it for the long haul. You're not just a flash in the pan, because that makes you a huge risk. But when they start seeing you, oh, I've seen you here, I've seen you here, they start to build up that trust, that familiarity, and then people would start talking to you. There's a lot of people that will not do business with you until you've been in business for at least 3 years, because they're going, are you serious? Is this something that you're going to be here for, or is this just what you're doing for the next few months?
All right. So as you mentioned that there are multiple ways to market your business, right? So what do you think having a mentor in their life, in their journey of starting a business, how's that look like?
Oh, having a mentor or a good business coach is one of the best things that you can absolutely have. Like when I first started my business over 20 years ago, business coaching was in its infancy. Now it's blown up, and you can find business coaches for almost everything. And so many of them are specialized, which are great if you are ready to be dealing with the specialist. But a good business coach or a good mentor saves you so much time, money, and grief of having to go through and learn everything on your own and get the bruises and the heartache and the expensive lessons. Like when I started my business, I went in much better prepared than most people, but my first 2 years were still very challenging. And one of the many reasons why I do what I do now, which is focusing on, like I said, the baby businesses, idea stage up to 2 years. Because I go, if I could go back and talk to me 1 year before I started my business and go, what were the things that I could have done had I known that I was going to be doing this? Because I got fired from a job I absolutely hated. And in that moment, I decided, okay, now I'm finally ready to do the business. It's not that like I'd never thought about it before. I'd had people pushing me for years and I'd thought about it, but I kept putting it off. But when I was fired, okay, now we're doing it. But if I could have gone back and talked to myself 1 year before I started my business, oh, that would have saved me probably $200,000-300,000 worth of painful learning experiences that I had to go through on my own.
All right. So this is why having a mentor is important, having a business coach is important for those people who are just getting started. And there are multiple complainings about the mentorship, or the methods those mentors or coaches are teaching. Let's say there are people who have joined in the program of, let's say, any of the mentors, any of the coaches, business coaches. So what is happening? Their method is not working for the particular person. So how's that one person can solve that problem? Because you shared there are multiple ways to market their business, to bring the sale, to bring the people in their business, right? So how that person who is struggling right out there, who has a mentor as well, and maybe it is his mistake or her mistake, that is he or she is not acting upon what the mentor is saying. And on the other hand, the other thing is this: let's say it might be possible that the mentor, whatever the mentor is sharing, that is not working for him. So what is your point of view on this?
Well, the biggest thing is, because I've seen this, because I'm all for learning. I'm all for like working with coaches and taking courses and all of this stuff. And one of the biggest issues that I've come across myself and with a lot of my clients that start working with me is they sign up for a program or working with a coach. And there's nothing wrong with the program or the coach. In fact, a lot of the time, the stuff is absolutely fabulous, but the student isn't ready for it. So for example, if I go onto Facebook or Instagram and stuff, what I'm seeing for business coaches and stuff, it's like social media marketing experts, like we'll show you how to do Facebook ads and all of this stuff, or we'll help you get your message just right. They're very, very specialized. And if a person is ready for that, then they can run with it. But they don't do the sorting to figure out, okay, is this person actually ready for this? So I call those business coaches like ologists, like they're specialists. They're an oncologist that specializes in cancer. They're a gynecologist that specializes in ladies' reproductive stuff. They're proctologists that look after the colon and all of that stuff. They're very specialized. Where if you've got somebody who's just figuring out and they don't really know and they don't know how to diagnose because they've just jumped in, they don't need an ologist. They're not ready for them. They need a really good family doctor. Or think about it in terms of sports. So we just finished the Olympics not that long ago. Well, the coaches that are working with the Olympic athletes are amazing. But if you try to take that Olympic coach and you're teaching somebody in grade 1 that's just learning to run and they're barely know how to operate their feet, well, it's the wrong type of coach. They need somebody that can help them on a much more basic level. And one of the things that I have to work with so much with a lot of my clients that are starting out is getting their habits put together properly. How do they figure out what their priorities are for working on? Okay, so say that you do this marketing course with this great coach, and now you've got all, like, it worked. You brought in all these clients. How do you actually deliver that? And I've had a lot of people going, well, yeah, they showed me how to market, but I had no idea about all this other stuff. How am I doing this and that? And you need to have the basics, the foundations before, like, they're trying to build skyscrapers when they can't even build the straw shack yet.
That's really true, because I see, I've seen all those people who are struggling out, and they have the mentors, they have the coaches, they are, giving and complaining that what the mentor is teaching is really not working. It's really struggling, and they are into the business, let's say, for the past 1 year, 2 years, and still they are struggling. So this is why I wanted to ask this question, and thank you for answering that question. So what do you think? How they can avoid those mistakes that they are committing in their initial journey?
You have to start with the basic pieces. So all businesses, it doesn't, like I said, doesn't matter, industry, product, service, anything like that. There's 8 foundational pieces for every single business. You have to have the right mindset. And when you're used to having a job, and we are all raised and go through our school system to be trained as employees, which is a very, very different way of doing things than as an entrepreneur. So you need to work on the mindset. Habits are a huge, huge one. Everybody has to have marketing, and then figuring out, like I said, what are the right marketing channels for you, because there's all sorts of different ones, and you need to pick like 2 or 3 and get good at those, not dabbling all over the place. You need to have a good, strong foundation with your financials, understanding your numbers. I have all of my clients do their own bookkeeping for the first 6 months to a year. Then you can pass it off to a bookkeeper, but then you'll understand like the reports and the stuff that's coming back. But that's usually the first thing that people abdicate, not delegate, they abdicate. They're going, oh, somebody else will do this to me, I never have to look at it again. And then they're missing a massively important and fun and interesting part of their business. They need to have advisors. And most people, when they're starting out new, they're getting their advice from their broke ass friends and family who have never played in their arena and really don't know. They're trying to help, or they're getting hit on by every single business coach and business service out there, and they don't know how to sort through who are the good, who are the bad, who's actually going to help them, and who's just wanting to pick their pockets clean. And then they need to have an understanding of cash flow and an understanding of profit. Once you've got all of those, then your chances of success go up, and it all builds together. It's tied together like a spider web. If you're missing any one of those pieces, or heaven forbid more of them, your chances of crashing and burning skyrocket.
All right. So now here we can say that your growth of this online business is predictable once you
Yes.
follow the process, right? So this is something what is interesting, and I see that there are multiple people who do not have the patience, because I feel when you, as you mentioned, that while you are building a skyscraper, you have got to build the basic foundations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people just see the skyscraper only. They do not see that how to wait and build that foundation super strong, so that once they are building that skyscraper, they do not fall down then and there, right? So this is why having patience is really super important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for answering all these questions, and here we have now a couple of more questions that I really would like to ask. This session has become really interesting. So let me ask this question. Let's say whatever the programs that you have, and on the other hand, people have said their all the stuff. When it comes to telling the price about their program, people fail to keep the prices for their program. So how to set up that?
So I do 2 things, and it's basically packaged together. So what I do is I do a weekend intensive small business class. It's 20 hours where we go over all the 8 pieces that I talked about here, and we get into depth, and we work on the actual classes that the businesses that are in the room. So I do it all fully live over Zoom. And here's the thing, I do my stuff live. And the reason why I do it live is because I know how people work, because I'm a people. And I love taking courses and stuff like this. And I've signed up for great online courses and stuff that you do at your own pace, which are wonderful. But to be completely honest, I signed up for an Instagram course like 2.5 years ago, basically just before COVID hit. And it is an amazing course. I can't say anything bad about it. It's done over 6 weeks, and then I have access to it for the rest of my. I have done 4 weeks. I still need to finish the last 2 weeks. Why? Because I'm busy and life gets in the way, and there's nothing that says I have to do it. Where when it's a live class, it's in the calendar, it's scheduled, you show up. So we do that to get the basics in, to get people excited, to get them launched. And then I follow it up with a year-long group coaching program where I hold their hand and kick their butt, and we continue to build on their knowledge. But the most important thing is it's developing the habits. It takes time to get stuff done. And yes, you have to be patient. We all know the story of the tortoise and the hare. And the hare goes faster, but the tortoise always wins. Even if there's numerous videos all over YouTube where they've literally put like a tortoise and a hare on like a little run, and the tortoise always wins. Why? Because the rabbit starts off fast and then they get distracted and they're going, oh, I'll go over here. Where the tortoise is just slowly, I'm going for the finish line. Nothing's going to get me off of my course. And that's how you have to do in business. Like, I've been through this, and I'm an impatient person. I always want things to go faster. And I literally just had my board of directors meeting tonight, where I get my butt kicked by people that I respect. Every 2 months we do this. And I was giving them the update, and they said, well, last time, all the stuff that you told me, like, we couldn't really see it. Like, we know you're working on stuff. But now, 2 months later, oh my God, we're actually seeing all the stuff that you got done. It's like coming to fruition. I'm going, yes, it's slow and steady. It's are you in it for the long run? And as long as you're doing it slow, steady, and consistent, you will get the results. Not as fast as you would like, but you will definitely get them. Where if you're acting like the bunny rabbit and you're going, oh, well, this going to go somewhere else, and oh, that didn't work out, so you're never going to get anywhere.
All right. So we can say over here that slowly is the fastest way to win.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Perfect. Perfect. One got to understand that. So I believe I asked the question that when one need to keep their pricing, how one can keep that, right? So is there any point that let's say if there is somebody who's charging, there are people who are thinking that let's charge the high ticket, let's get the high ticket. So everywhere I see, everyone is trying to get the high ticket. What is like, how is that possible to get the high ticket even you are just getting started? So is there any myths that people are following?
Yes, and this is a big one, because I've got some higher ticket stuff. But the thing is, people have to get to know you, like you, and trust you to begin with. So what do you have that is low in cost? And when I'm talking cost, it's money, time, and energy, because that's something that a lot of people forget. They think it's low in cost, so that's it. But somebody's gonna have to put in an awful lot of time and a lot of energy for it. People go, no, I can't do that. So you need to have different levels, because there are some people that, okay, I'll try you out, and if I like you, okay, then we'll look at moving up. But if you're just trying to get everybody into the high ticket right off the bat, number one, you're going to come across as way too damn pushy, and nobody likes that. But there's only so many people that can afford the high ticket. And yes, we want to find those, but what do you have that lets people try you out and test the waters and going, okay, are you and I going to click? Do you understand what my issues are? Are you the person that's really going to help me? So what do you have that's in terms of low cost, in terms of time, money, and effort for somebody to try out? And then you can move them up.
All right. All right. So this is something what is interesting, and thank you for answering this question. It's like it was a kind of myth that people were following, but you just made it clear. Thank you so much for being over here. I feel like the questions over here, we are done with the questions, and this is really super fruitful session that I have done so far, right? Thank you so much to my audience as well that they have been over here watching us and putting their energy to learn something new from a veteran person like you. And I really would like to thank to you as well for coming over here, sharing the golden nuggets about the business, how they can go with starting stage to building the skyscraper of their own business, right? So thank you so much for being over here. Thank you so much to my audience as well. If you are over here for the first time, like the videos, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and see you soon, super soon. Thank you so much for being over here.
Thank you very much.